Bruce, you must have something really good too.
Of course I do. It's Bruce Danielson, and I guess I'm here to entertain you too.
We'll get started. It's about 12:03. Welcome, everyone, to the December 2017 Park Board meeting. We have a full agenda, so we're going to get started right away. Can we have a roll call?
Abdullah?
Here.
Lindquist?
Here.
Steinborn? Dakota Golf?
Here.
Stavanger?
Here.
Stehly? Here. Riceover? Here.
Okay. Our first order of business is approval of the minutes from the November 21st board meeting.
Move to approve those minutes.
Second.
Okay, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Abdullah?
Yes.
Lindquist?
Yes.
Dakota Golf?
Yes.
Stavanger?
Yes.
Stehly? Yes. Riceover?
Yes.
Okay, we have reached the public input portion of our meeting. What we'd like to do is have everybody go around and introduce themselves and say what agenda item you are here for. If you are here for something on the agenda and wish to speak, we ask that you hold your input until we reach that item on the agenda. If you are here with some general comments, now is your opportunity to speak. So why don't we start over on the right-hand side here?
Here?
Yes.
Rhonda Milstead, Falls Overlook Cafe.
Phil Priest, Golf Management. Ben Fulton, Golf Management.
Tom Everett, Landscapes Unlimited.
Lacey Turback with City Finance here for the golf management contract.
Greg Knights from City Council, here to hear the discussion of the golf contract.
Craig Greenfeld, I'm an attorney for the City of Sioux Falls.
Smiler Cantrell, Golf Management.
Tom Jansen, golf management.
Patrick Booth, Golf Management.
Roger King, Golf Management.
Donna Haber, Golf Management.
Fran Theresa, Golf Management.
Jenny Lloyd, Golf Management.
Lois Nicholas, Golf Management. Barbara Cole, Golf Management.
Bill Cole, Golf Management.
Meg Tesno, Golf Management.
Scott Russell, City of Sioux Falls.
Matt Newman, City of Sioux Falls.
Pat Starr, I'm a city council member for the Northeast District and the golf management discussion.
Land, Golf Management. Ruth Benedict, Golf Management.
Joe Benedict, golf management.
Norm Parsons, golf management.
Terry Comstock, Golf Management. Derek Kuiper, Golf Management.
Don Coster, golf management.
John Getch, Golf Management.
Ron Nelson, golf management.
Yes, go ahead.
John Gower, golf management.
Bert Hieronymus, Golf Management.
Ken Freer, golf management
Brady Lowy, Disc Golf
And I'm Lyle Potspot with Chesapeake Coca-Cola for the venue services.
Theresa Stehly, City Council, I'm here to do some public input and then golf issue as well.
Okay. All right. We will move on to the report of standing committees.
Are we giving public input if I want to say
Oh, is
something?
this, do you have some general public?
Yes, I
input?
do,
Okay,
yes.
sure.
Okay, Theresa Stehly, on the City Council. I'm here to talk about contact information. And as you may recall, I was here this summer asking that you would approve an ordinance that I was proposing that my councilman, Greg Neitzer, seconded and support. And my concern at that time was that we have a large segment of our community that is not being heard by our city government and splashing over into the park board. So I wanted to, I proposed the ordinance, as you remember, that allowed you all to serve your full 2-year terms if so desired by the mayor. And, did I take your card? And that would also put into a format that would allow for districting representation from every district, similar to what we already have in the city council. So that the Northeast District has someone sitting at the table on the park board. Because right now, we have a large consolidation of park board members who live in the Southeast District and historically have lived in the south end of town. So that, you voted against doing that, stating that there is ample representation now. So what I'm wanting you to do is please send me your contact information. I will be putting together a little brochure, and as I go out and speak, just like I do with the city council, I have a brochure that has our numbers. I'm gonna start giving your numbers out as well, because you are the representation for our community. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item is the report of the standing committees. Marketing and public needs. Mark is gone. Is there somebody else who wants to give that report?
Everything that we discussed is on the agenda today.
Okay. Park System Planning and Development, we met, all items are on the agenda, and we also discussed a potential land donation. Partnerships and Recreation,
Everything that we talked about at our committee meeting is on the agenda here today.
okay, great. We have no unfinished business, so we'll jump right into new business. The first item of business, which most of you are very interested in, is the Landscape Management Company LLC agreement. Don is going to be kicking that off for us, and we have several representatives from the city to help with any questions as well.
Thanks, and as Betty said, thanks for your interest in the golf management contract. It's an important thing that not only for our park system, but obviously for those that have a vested interest and play a lot, and so appreciate you being involved in this process. We're going to have kind of a tag team approach to the presentation today. Tom Everett, I'd like to recognize Tom. Tom is the president of the Landscape Management Company. Tracy Turback is our director of finance, and then Greg Greenfield is with Greenfield and Roder law firm, who assisted us in the drafting of this document. To start out with, we wanted to talk a little bit about the background and the current status. For some of you that may not be aware of where we've been with golf course management contracts in the past. The last change in course management was 23 years ago, and the last request for proposals was in 1998. Over the years, our city's internal audit arm of the city council has recommended that we go out for an RFP to test the market on golf course management services to ensure that we're getting the best bang for our buck with regard to those golf course management services. And so because of the renovations recently over at Elmwood and the history that Dakota Golf Management has had at Elmwood, we felt like now that those renovations are complete, now would be a good time to do that RFP. The other thing that we've done is that we retain the services of the National Golf Foundation, their golf consulting firm that assisted us with an operations overview that they provided to us last fall. And then they also helped us the drafting and the development of the RFP before it was issued. And for everybody's benefit, the current contract with Dakota Golf expires at the end of this year. So let's talk a little bit about the selection process. The RFP was issued in July of this year. We received written proposals from 5 firms. We did identify a 6-member selection committee to review the proposals. And some of the things that they looked at, the criteria for scoring those proposals included their past experience, their business and operations plan, their fee, their capital plan, their references, and then their financial capability and reporting and accountability. So after that process and the interviewing of those firms, we did make a notice of intent to award to Landscapes Unlimited on October 18th of this year. We also, since that time, have been in contract negotiations with Landscapes Unlimited, and we're here before you today to present that contract. The Parks and Recreation Board, obviously we're here today, and then later this afternoon we'll be presenting the same presentation to the City Council at our 4 o'clock informational meeting. And then following that, our schedule is to bring this contract forward to the City Council meeting on December 19th. The new contract, as proposed, would commence on January 1st. So with regard to Landscapes Unlimited and their golf management arm, they're very familiar with the Sioux Falls municipal courses. The history that they have is the construction of Prairie Green back in 1991. And then they just finished our three and a half year renovations at Elmwood Golf Course as a result of the runway safety area issues that we're working on with the Airport Authority and the FAA to bring our airport into full compliance with those regulations. And we really feel like they provide a complete package of golf course management services. So here today with us is the president of Landscapes Management Company to talk a little bit about their services, and I'd like to have Tom come forward.
Thank you, Don. Good morning, city staff, park board, golfers. Thank you for coming to hear what we have to say this morning. I just thought I'd take the opportunity to tell you a little bit about Landscapes Unlimited, a company I'm very proud to represent for you this morning. Our company is family owned. It was founded by Bill Kubley in 1976. He was a landscape architect graduate from the University of Wisconsin. He moved to Lincoln to work for a design builder by the name of Dick Watson, and after a number of years determined that, hey, I can do this on my own. So set out on his own and endeavored to build a golf construction company, and he did so at his first project, which was here in Mitchell, South Dakota, irrigating a 9-hole golf course. So during the, just a little bit more than 10 years into the evolution of the company, our management company, Landscapes Management Company, was founded and born. And our first owned opportunity came at the Amana Colonies in Amana, Iowa. And today we are working with 46 properties in 18 states, 2 in China and 1 in Canada. One thing that I'd like to, an important note I'd like to make there is that over the course of our company's evolution through our ownership portfolio, is we had to learn how to operate golf courses for our own account. So we were playing with our own money. In this case, we would be treating the city of Sioux Falls' resources like our own. I think that's an important point to make. Our company has developed, we now have a team of 20 plus individuals providing those services across all those properties. So we really have 2 core businesses. As Don mentioned, Landscapes Unlimited construction is really probably the area of our business that you're most familiar with, as we did the renovation work, as he noted, at Elmwood. Today, we just this month landed our 1,800th job. So over the course of that 40 years, we've completed 1,800 projects. And that project was at Kinloch Golf Club in Mannequin-Sabot, Virginia. So as you can see here, we're self-performing all of the construction work. We've also performed and moved into sports and recreation. We've worked with facilities such as North Carolina State, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, doing their sports field work. So Landscapes Management Company is the end of our business that I'm responsible for, and I've noted just a few areas of the service delivery that we will employ. We feel like we're a true solutions company, that we want to listen to the client, identify their needs, and then find an offering of service that makes the most sense for that particular client. And just another note that I would make is there's not another company in the country that can self-perform under one roof the level of services that we can. Our objective is to be able to be a one-stop shop for any particular golf. Some of our notable clients, I guess one thing I would mention here is this resume is what attracted me to Landscapes Unlimited nearly 20 years ago. I really felt like if these properties that host major championships felt enough trust in Landscapes Unlimited that their core values must be something that were strong and something that I wanted to be a part of. As you can see here, we built Erin Hills, which hosted the 2017 U.S. Open. And this is just a depiction of where we're at in the United States. We're working from everywhere from California in the west to Maryland in the east. These are our two China properties, one on Hainan Island here and one in Shanghai. And this is our 36-hole project in Victoria, British Columbia, Bear Mountain, that hosted the 2016 and 17 Pacific Links Championship on the senior tour. So a wide variety of projects across that scope of the country, everything from affordable daily fee properties to very high-end and exclusive clubs and everything pretty well in between. Also note our regional offices here. We have offices in Phoenix, in Fort Collins, Colorado, Indianapolis, and Baltimore, Maryland. Any questions so far? I guess maybe they're not supposed to take questions.
Probably not. It could be a while.
Okay, so a pretty comprehensive list of the services that we offer. Just a few that you might take particular note interest in is our marketing experience. Ross Liggett, I feel like, is one of the best young minds in the industry. He had the opportunity to perform in front of the selection committee. I wish I could do my best Ross Liggett impression this morning, but we'll have to leave that for another time. Ongoing training and development programs, those range anywhere from, we just last week hosted all of our golf course superintendents in our office across the country at no cost to those particular properties that was funded through our vendor relationships. And to that point, we have a 14-page vendor catalog, buying catalog that lists all of the partnerships, the vendor partnerships that we've accumulated over the years. We're able to leverage the buying power of 50 properties across the country, and that's something that will have a direct benefit for the city of Sioux Falls. Budgeting and business planning. We work with our courses and our clients to deliver a comprehensive business plan and budget. That business plan is going to specifically identify exactly how we are going to achieve the objectives in every department, from marketing to agronomy to golf operations and everything in between. So that's a product that we will present to Don as our liaison with the city for their approval. That will include rates, capital investment recommendations. And then I think the one thing important to note here is that the structure that the city has made with us enables the city to be in control of your assets. I know that the lease arrangement has evolved into more of a management arrangement as of late, but really we're working on the city's behalf to achieve your objectives, not ours. So just a few of the key talking points that we presented during our presentation for the park board selection committee. We really felt like the opportunity lies in growing utilization in rounds. The city golf courses are the city's assets first and foremost. How can we utilize those assets to reach a greater market, a greater number of the constituents of the city of Sioux Falls? Not necessarily don't have to all be golfers, but how can we engage? Just last week we hosted a country singer concert at our municipal property in Laredo, Texas. And, it's just exposing the golf course and getting the residents of the city of Sioux Falls to utilize the property. Now that's a little bit, of a strategy to expand the utilization of the assets. But really, we need to, when we focus on driving rounds and revenue, we're going to utilize and employ our technology stack. It includes our custom-made CRM tracking software where we're tracking all of our sales leads very closely. It includes our point-of-sale software where we're tracking information on our guests and our players, and utilizing that to continue to grow rounds. For us, it's more about delivering an experience, not just getting the golfers out to the course, taking their money and sending them home? How can we engage them in the transaction at the point of sale? How can we engage them in the food and beverage experience? Engage them, and food and beverage is a significant focus of our company to drive profit. We want to engage them, we want to keep them after their round of golf and create that experience that they want to come more often. I mentioned our purchasing power. That purchasing power is spread across the golf operations, across the maintenance, equipment, fertilizer and chemicals, everything from golf carts to golf shirts to golf equipment. And that amounts to roughly anywhere between a $30,000 and $70,000 benefit based on, the client, the individual client. So that's money that all goes right back to the city. So that in turn essentially reduces any fee that you are paying on company. How we will organize this going forward, we proposed in our proposal to identify Tom Jansa as our market manager, to engage Tom and his team in the process. That was something that we felt strongly about, was to be able to take Tom and the foundation that he's built over the course of the last 25 years plus, and those relationships and those experience and that historical knowledge of the market, and supplement him with the resources of a $150 million a year company. That's really what we, that was how we looked at this opportunity. So Tom would roll up then and have a direct report in our office, our regional manager, Chris Jacobson, who's already made several visits to meet with Tom and his team. And then all of our resources in agronomy, Steve Merkel, our director of agronomy, Mark Young, our director of food and beverage. We have an accounting and finance department of 8 staff. We're utilizing the human resources department in our company. Ross Liggett, our marketing and sales director of marketing and revenue management. Renee Fellmeyer, our attorney. And then all of our tools and resources that are available that we've generated as a level of best practices over the course of time. So why Landscapes Unlimited? Over the course of the last 30+ years, we've developed a knowledge base through all of our experiences over the course of all of those properties. You're essentially buying intellectual property of industry experts across all disciplines in the property. As I mentioned, we're a $150 million company, but yet we still remain small and will provide personalized service. Not every management company, I don't think the president of some of the larger companies in the industry would be here presenting with you all this morning. This is an important project for us, largely because of our extending our relationship from our initial construction activity. And then just a history of success. I believe we delivered what we said we would do at Elmwood with a level of quality and integrity. We have a history of successful case studies, and we would like for the city of Sioux Falls to be another one of those. Thank you.
So, next up we have Mrs. Gregg to talk about some of the contract terms that we're proposing, and then he'll turn it over to Tracy for all that.
Good afternoon, my name is Craig Greenfield. I was contracted to draft the contract. And what I can tell you about the contract is that we're not recreating the wheel. We are using the same type and same structure that we currently have, which would be a management services agreement rather than a lease. And the contract that you have in front of you, all 42 pages of it are modeled after some other contracts that the city has entered into, including SMG for management of the arena, management of the pavilion. So we were comfortable with using the structure that we currently have, management services, and then including the terms that we have in this agreement into those templates. The contract's for a 5-year term with an option to renew for an additional 5-year term. That contract can be terminated for different reasons that are set forth in the contract. It's important that we maintain an independent contractor relationship. What an independent contractor means is that we hope the landscapes uses their expertise and uses their judgment and uses their contacts to create revenues at the courses. And for the city of Sioux Falls, if we entered into a lease or another type of arrangement for a flat fee, that would be it. That would be the flat fee every month. The hope is that by having an independent contractor relationship, that both the cities and landscape benefit from the arrangement. And that's also the current arrangement that we have, is an independent contractor relationship. Compensation, that's an important part of any contract. It's an annual base fee of $75,000 a year. What we didn't add into that slide is that there's a 3% increase per year after the first year. You'll see that in the contract. And what's really important about the contract is the incentive fee of 11% of any positive adjusted operating incomes. Now, each of those terms, Tracy will be talking about and how we arrive at those terms, but the point of the contract is that there is an incentive fee so that if things go well, they go well for the city and they go well for landscape. However, the city doesn't lose total control under the independent contractor relationship. The golf rates that will be charged to the public need to be approved by this board, the Parks and Recreations Board, every year. I can sum up what I think about the contract by saying that I think that the city's well protected. And I hesitate to say what my dad always used to say, you can't make a good contract with a bad person, okay? You can't make a bad contract, or a good contract with a bad person, or a bad contract with a good person. These are good people. The contract are the words that we put down and we agree to live by, but this is a good arrangement for the city of Sioux Falls. Any questions that you have specifically about the contract? Thank you.
I've got just one slide to cover to delve a little more into the financial aspects of the agreement. As Rick Greenfield just mentioned, the model of the contract really comes from some that have proven successful for the city. In a lot of ways, the financial flow of money, how the money is handled and how expenses are handled is really modeled heavily after the city's contract with the Navy Sanford Premier Center and the management company that runs that facility. So the operating account is a key part of that. Landscapes will be responsible to collect all the revenues that are derived from the operation, management, promotion of the golf course. All those revenues then are deposited into this operating account. And then they are also responsible to pay all of the day-to-day operating expenses out of that account. So that's their responsibility. In addition, all capital expenditures will be paid from that operating account. So when it comes to equipment purchases or making lease payments or for course facility improvements, those will all run through that operating account. So it's really all the money is funneled and channeled through that one place. Also, there's some non-operating revenues that we will see in the future from the golf course that will go into this account, and some non-operating expenses. And some of the specific examples I can give you there, the non-operating revenue, for example, we've got a restaurant that's just opened and a hotel that will soon be opening that's occupying some of the property at Elmwood. That will generate some lease income that will also go into this operating account. And as I think you folks understand, those revenues are intended to help support the golf facility. So those dollars will go in there, as will other non-operating income like interest income and some other miscellaneous things. One of the non-operating expenses that will be paid out of that is not really an operational expense of running the golf course. You folks are familiar that when Elmwood was renovated, the airport authority did pay for some improvements that were essentially on the city's tab, for the golf course's tab, and so those reimbursements to the airport authority are considered non-operating expenses and will be paid out of this operating account as well. So just in a nutshell, all the dollars associated with the revenues coming in or expenses going out will run through that operating account. And that's under the control and management of the management company, Landscapes. A key aspect of the contract as well is the ownership of the assets, the golf facilities, the land, and the clubhouse and course improvements themselves are owned by the city. The city will retain ownership, and that does not change as a term of this contract. However, the operating account and the money in the account, as well as other assets, equipment, maintenance equipment, FF&E within the clubhouses, supplies and materials that are required will all be owned by the management company until the time the contract terminates. So upon contract termination, all those assets, as they exist at that point in time, will revert back to the city. So that's a little bit of a change, because today the city does not own any equipment out there, and when the agreement with Dakota Golf expires, that equipment belongs to Dakota Golf and not to the city. So that is going to be a change in the future going forward, and we think that's important, again, to protect the city and to put the city in a more favorable position in the future. And again, upon expiration, all of those assets become assets of the city of Sioux Falls. Fairly standard, the budget, the annual operating budget for the golf courses, as well as the 5-year plan. That's something that will be developed and brought to you folks for in the future by Landscapes. That'll all run in accordance with the city's normal annual budgeting and capital planning process. So nothing particularly interesting or remarkable there. Landscapes management will be responsible to provide full accountability each month, as a full set of reports, financial reports that will come to the city each month, documenting the revenues that have come in and the expenses that have been incurred, all fairly standard, which you might expect to see in any sort of an arrangement like this. The last thing I'll mention is the audit. The contract does require the activity of the operating account and the assets that are held by Landscapes management to be subject of an independent annual audit. So that's an expense that they incur out of that operating account is to bring in a CPA firm every year and do an audit. In addition to that, the contract also allows the city to exercise audit authority as well. If we feel like there's a need to go out and do an audit over and above what the annual independent audit would be, that's a right that the city has under the agreement. So with that, I'll turn it back to Don and wrap up the presentation.
Well, thanks, Tracy. For many of the familiar faces in here, many of you are served on the Golf Advisory Board, and I thought it'd be good to just step back and talk a little bit about the major investments that we've made in the city golf courses over the last many years that we've been working to try to grow and expand and continuously improve our courses across the city. At Elmwood, we do have 27 fully renovated holes, thanks in part to the FAA and the Airport Authority and working to take care of those runway safety areas. It was a win-win for us. We lost some trees, we weren't crazy about that, but at the same time, we've got a beautiful 27 holes, brand new 5-hole junior course, new practice facilities, really just across the board improvement in all of our facilities, and really at a time where we really needed to make some improvements because the infrastructure was aging, and so it was timely from that perspective. We've got brand new maintenance facilities out of it as well, and largely paid for by dollars through the FAA, and then we also had some of what we would call indirect costs that the city is picking up that Tracy referred to earlier. The other thing I wanted to share is that we're not done yet. We have a parking lot at Elmwood that we want to replace. So we're going to have a new entrance road, we're going to have a new sign, and then towards the end of the season, we'll start that project as part of our capital development program. Prairie Green, as you all know, we have a new clubhouse, and the one that was there got repurposed and relocated to Keuhn Park, and it's significantly upgraded what was there before. And so we're really in a good spot, I think, as far as the infrastructure of the golf courses go. And many thanks to Dakota Golf and the Golf Advisory Board and City Council for their support for those projects. Looking forward to the future, you know, I think it's really bright for golf in Sioux Falls. We hear a lot about all the other golf course improvements that are happening across the city, and that's fantastic for those that golf. But we're also making significant improvements as well. We're thinking outside of the box. We're partnering with different organizations, and what often I think gets lost on people with the renovations at Elmwood is that 2018 will be the first year there hasn't been some kind of renovation where it's limited our ability to have the entire course open for the community to enjoy. So we're looking forward to that. Our partnership with Elmwood Hospitality was realized about 2 weeks ago when the Crooked Pine Ale House opened up, which helps drive revenue for their courses as well. The Holiday Inn and Suites is opening soon. That'll be another boon for that area of town and the sports and entertainment district of Sioux Falls. And then we have those partnerships with those golf-related agencies such as the First Tee of South Dakota, South Dakota Golf Association, the Hall of Fame, and their presence in that new hotel. And the other thing is, the state South Dakota Golf Association State Amateur Championships, both for the men and the women, will be hosted at Elmwood. So we're excited about that, and again, really good things. Looking forward to the future of golf in Sioux Falls. You know, our partnership, as proposed with this agreement, I think is really going to deliver exceptional golf experiences for the community. I think all of us that play golf, I'm one of them, just like to go out and have a great time when we have an opportunity to get out there and enjoy our city courses. They're not only just golf courses, but they're community assets that provide open space, they provide green space, wildlife habitat, they have storm drainage functions. There's a lot of benefits to having golf courses beyond just the golf play itself. I really think they provide a comprehensive approach to managing our golf courses. They've got a great track record of maintaining good course conditions. They're focused on the customers and providing top-notch customer service. And they have a reputation for achieving results for their clients that they've worked for in the past and continue to work for in the future. So it's been quite a process of negotiating this agreement. A lot of different talents that came to the table to really put this together. And so I think with that, our entire team's available for questions, maybe from the board and then maybe from the audience as well.
Do any board members have any questions? I know we've been through this in committee.
Well, I've got a question for landscapes.
Sure.
We recently took a look at the rates for next year. And as I understand it, you had an opportunity to review those or be part of those discussions earlier on. Could you tell us a little bit about your philosophy of why you thought the rates should stay the same, or with little tweaks here and there, but
Sure.
Could you speak to that, please?
Yeah, good question, Jim. You know, when we transition into a new property, we try to do so gradually and not create too much turmoil, if you will. So we felt like the best course of action was to stay the current course and give ourselves an opportunity to further evaluate the market and understand it further and identify what additional opportunities might exist, and just essentially give us an opportunity to get a season under our belt, so to speak.
Thank you.
Who approves the budget for the golf course?
Landscapes will submit that budget, as I say, in the normal city budget cycle. Ultimately, that gets approved or by agreement, mutual agreement between landscapes and the city finance department. That's consistent with the way our operating budgets are handled for, like I said, the Premier Center.
Is the SMG contract the similar type of incentive?
It's similar, it's not identical to this. They do have a base fee with, based on performance, they can earn above their base fee.
And is it a similar percentage?
I don't recall off the top of my head what the percentage is. It is, I mean, there are a lot of similarities, but there are also a lot of differences between running an arena and entertainment venues and convention center and so forth. So, no, I don't believe the percentages are identical at all.
My real question is, how does Landscape plan to make money? I mean, I'm just looking at this thing saying, I mean, I see the $75,000 a year, but at only 11% of the net operating income, I don't see that being a huge incentive for Landscapes Unlimited. My real question is the city protected in a way to prevent, and this is why I asked about the budget, is the city protected in a way to prevent any sort of major marketing outflows to Landscapes Unlimited or consulting fees or, you know, access to their CRM? Does a bunch of money funnel out that way, and will Landscapes stand to gain more from those types of funds or the 11%?
I think the and Greg can jump in too, but the contract's very, very explicit that the exclusive compensation that Landscapes receives is that $75,000, and then whatever that 11% incentive fee earns them. So that's really, I think, crystal clear in the contract. That's their exclusive compensation.
Jason, it's a fairly competitive rate in the industry. The 75,000, you're right. We don't make a lot of money. We only earn 75,000, so our incentive is definitely in that incentive opportunity. In our proposal, just for example, I think our initial, our first year was to make an additional $40,000. We're very transparent. There are some costs that you know, will be billed back, payroll service, any costs that we take on that are a direct benefit of the property, but no other, compensation opportunities.
Sure. Thank you.
You have a lot of expertise, obviously. We've talked a lot about the things that have been added to Elmwood, but we ought to talk about Prairie Green and Keuhn, all of it together. Do you foresee in your expertise any other changes that you maybe see needing to be done in Elmwood and Prairie Green? We talked about the parking lot already, but
sure.
I'm just curious what you maybe foresee.
Yeah, good question, Todd. That's we were responsible for including a capital plan in our proposal, and one of the things that we did include was a new clubhouse at Elmwood that would be funded out of future operating profits. So that's certainly the cart paths at Prairie Green need some work. Other than that, those were the two major items.
Would you foresee that clubhouse potentially being done within your 5-year?
I sure hope so.
A big piece of the strategy is this CRM interaction with the customer feedback and customer data and information. Does the city own that data at the end of the contract, or is that proprietary to Landscapes?
Both. We own it, though. We own the actual data that's created. Some of the platforms that it may exist on will remain with them. And then in the agreement, there's also a confidentiality provision that we keep their proprietary information proprietary. But what's created is owned by the city.
Tom, can you share a little bit about your
your fish program and your?
Yeah, good question, Lorraine. Something I'm very passionate about. It's our customer service delivery program. You know, as the industry has gotten as competitive as it has, we felt like there was one opportunity for us to get more than our fair share of the market through just treating people really well. So we didn't want to just say that we have a service training program, but we built it around the fish philosophy. Any of you familiar with the Pike Place Fish Market in Seattle? And, you know, we just had to attach to a philosophy, and that's where we landed. It's about creating a fun environment, and it starts with it's essentially a toolkit that we give our managers, and it starts with arming them with tools to help them identify people that are going to be more inclined to want to serve the clients. So we're giving them tools in that way to, whether it's interview questions, interview evaluations, and from there, once they're identified as a successful candidate, they go through our training program that includes watching the 17-minute video and taking the quiz, and just that's our opportunity to instill in them exactly what our philosophy is, and that the four key tenets of the fish philosophy are play, be there, choose your attitude, and make their day. And that's our manual, our fish manual creates or identifies opportunities throughout the operation, whether that's in food and beverage or on the golf course maintenance or in the golf shop, and how those can play a part. And then we keep it alive through bi-weekly bulletins. We send every one of our properties and our people, our team, a bulletin on a weekly basis that talks about a service situation or an opportunity, and that's just the way that we chose to keep it alive. So, good question.
Any further questions from the board? If not, we'll move on to some questions from the audience, but first I thought I'd run through how we'll handle this agenda item. We'll take questions from the audience directly to the presenters, then we'll move into a public input portion, and after that we'll close the public input portion and move to a board discussion followed by a vote. In light of the lengthy schedule today and the amount of people, we'd like you to limit your public input to 5 minutes or less and offer new information if possible. So we'll start with questions.
My question is on the contract length. It was 5-year contract plus automatic renewal after 5 years for another 5 years. After that point, do you issue another RFP, or? I mean, I know we had a 23-year thing which worked out fine, but I'm just wondering if there's a normal process in the city after so long you issue another RFP.
You want to take that one, Greg?
Yeah, I think that depending on how things are going, first of all, it's not an automatic renewal after the first 5-year term. But if things work out and then it is renewed for 5 additional years, then it terminates by its terms after the 10 years. But the hope would be that before the 10-year period was out, that the whole structure would be readdressed by RFPs or going forward, because the contract is over after 10 years.
Are there any other questions from the audience?
I have a few questions. First of all, I know at the press conference, and this is for Lifescape, you made an inference that somehow, for landscape, you made an inference that somehow Dakota Golf could be involved in somewhat of a partnership with you.
There's no partnership.
Okay, and are you going to be involving them at all in management? Because something was said at the press conference that you were somehow going to be working together with them.
We will, it's Theresa, right?
Yes.
We will interview their staff. Our proposal was built around engaging the current tenant that was in place and subsidizing it with our resources. So we will bring their employees on under a 60-day probationary period.
Okay, so Tom will be included in that?
Yes, you bet.
60 days?
Yes.
Okay, and then Greg,
Yes.
what firm do you work with?
Greenfield Road.
So are you doing a lot of contracts with our city? Because I wasn't aware, I thought our city, our own legal department would be handling the contract.
I do some contract work for the city attorney's office, including this arrangement.
Okay, so we don't, how often does the city handle their own contracts, do you know?
Well, I would imagine they handle all their own contracts. I was contacted, I think sometime in November to assist with the negotiation and drafting of the contract.
Okay, and I would like to see how much we're going to be paying in respect to that, okay?
And I think that's available, and
Okay.
anytime I work with any client, I need to send out an engagement letter and be contracted for with the city, so.
Okay, and then Karen Leonard, I have a question for you, just so the public is aware of what, as the council is going to be asked to vote on this, and I've made this request, but formally you're our lead city attorney right now. So we've had all the proposals. I had wanted to see the pros and the cons of each proposal before we voted for the selection that was picked. Would you just let the public know how that's going to work out? If we will be, as a council, and maybe even as the public, how much information are we going to be given about the other proposals that were made?
The non-award proposals, we follow state law, and not Councilor Stehly, and they are to remain confidential under state law under 518A6 and 518A7. Requires us to make public the awarded contract and the awarded proposal, and we follow state law on that.
Now, but wasn't I correct in that there is a possibility we could see these under executive session?
I have never given that opinion to the council, that we would open that up to exec session. I don't think that would follow exec session laws.
I believe there's been discussion within the council that would be something that we could do. If that would happen and we were able to, because personally, I would like to see the pros and cons before I vote on this, because to me, of course, we're trusting the selection committee, but I would like to see for myself, just like the selection committee got to see the list of the pros and the cons of each proposal, so that we know in voting for this that we're making the best decision for our community. So I think there is a possibility that could be done in executive session. Maybe we can check on that.
We'll take that under
Are you the
advisement.
part-time mayor for this?
I am a city council
You
person.
didn't answer my question.
No.
Then some of the things that you're assuming, based on what you said, lead backwards. So I think you should probably let them make their decision first before you decide to get involved and make your decision.
But at the end of the day, I will be voting on the decision. You understand? And it's going to be happening very soon.
Right. I think that's what all these people were voting for. Trying to decide who's going to get it and why the others were not going to get it. And it's kind of like, I'm sure you're doing a fine job with the city council, I have no problem with that. But if you need to be involved in all the decisions before, you've got a lot of work to do 24 hours a day for the rest of your life. There's decisions made like this all the time with other groups.
Not the RF.
Ben
Listen, sir.
and Councilman Staley
RFP.
and Ben, could we ask that the
Disagree.
questions and input be directed to the board and the presenters?
Board's doing a fine job, I just understand.
Yes.
It
Okay.
just concerns me the situation.
Okay, I appreciate your input. Are there further questions?
I do have some input.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. I'd hope to be standing here in advocating for approval of the contract. At this point, unfortunately, I personally am unable to do so. And I felt that, I've worked with all you folks a long time. I felt you needed to know the reason for my decision. And I apologize for seemingly bringing anything up here at the last minute, but I did just receive the first offer for my assets from the city at Wednesday last week. I countered that proposal, and they were unable to give me a number before this meeting. So I just felt like I needed to let everybody here know the reason why I personally might not be involved in this process. And I can assure you can understand that we were profoundly disappointed not to have been selected. And I appreciate it. I've gotten a lot of supportive calls from everybody, and I'm not here to cast doubt on the process in any way, shape, or form. But in recognizing that we weren't going to get it, we were very well prepared to move forward, to grease wheels, to make the transition as smooth as possible. We never set out to upset any apple cart. With the announcement, we were extremely encouraged, and again encouraged today at Tom's confidence in us that they're not starting from scratch or in a negative position, and they want to utilize our human capital and our goodwill, and we certainly appreciate that. And that's in a general sense, that's kind of was welcome news to us. So we feel like we've handled the situation well. We've worked as much as we can with landscapes and the city to make the transition as smooth as possible. But there were still two issues. There was in theory how landscapes presented their desire to keep us on, and they've answered that, I guess, as much to our satisfaction as possible. They've worked with me. I'm comfortable in that. They've met with my employees. The employees really appreciated that aspect. It is that second issue of the issue of Dakota Golf's assets that we've accumulated for at the golf courses over the year. That is the issue, and it's unresolved, and that's why I'm here today. And I hope we can get over the hurdle, and I can stand in support of the new management contract. It's not my that's my goal. I'm not here to burn any bridges or to make anything other than that. But without it, the city is going to have to find another solution to populating the golf courses with assets, and I can assure you it's far more expensive than taking the existing assets of Dakota Golf, which by any measure has been producing quality golf conditions for the golfers. Nobody from everything is there. It's a turnkey approach. This issue was obviously made clear to all of the proposers in the RFP process. They all knew, what they were getting into. That we were the owners of the equipment. Obviously, if we'd been selected, there would have been no cost to the city at all. We would continue to use our equipment and again continue to take on that responsibility. If another contractor was selected, we assumed that we were going to be in negotiation with another contractor. And at the moment, because of this arrangement, which is all new to us as well as you, we are in negotiations with the city on that equipment. I feel confident we're in agreement with several things. Everything that's been used to successfully manage the golf courses is in place. I mean, nothing's lacking to pick up where we left off after last year. Both parties agree it'd be mutually beneficial for the ease of the transition to take over those assets and not have to start over from scratch. And everybody agrees that it's going to be more expensive if we don't pursue that option. My intention's not to get you involved in the details of the negotiations. Like I said, we just got our first look at what the city was planning to offer as late as last Wednesday. So I'm still available, and we're still talking, but we have not come very close up to this point. So that's why I'm here. I've shopped our offer, the city's numbers, to many people. All I'll say is that in knowledgeable people in the golf industry, and we feel like the offer that we have on the table is fair, and so we hope that it's accepted, and we hope that we can move on as we had hoped to. Our proposal's fair. It gives the city everything it needs to get started, And it also allows me to accept the position that Landscapes has offered me, to continue as their market manager for the courses. It's a role that's very similar to my current position, and I appreciate that. The city rejects our asset proposal. They'll be faced with the costly and difficult task of completely populating the courses with new replacement equipment. And if that doesn't happen, then I will not be continuing on in a role if they can't get a fair and equitable disposition of the asset issue. I'm not indispensable, I understand that, but I do have a host of institutional knowledge and goodwill that has been built up over all the years, and that will be difficult to replace. So in conclusion, with a reasonable settlement that properly values Dakota Golf's assets' positive contribution to the new management structure, I'm excited to move forward with Landscapes. I know that the whole Dakota Golf team will prove our value to our new employer. Our customers will be comforted to know that we're still on the job. But if my arguments hold no sway, my massive negotiating skills are unsuccessful, and both the city and Landscapes decide that there is a better option moving forward other than proceeding with our assets and my services, I'm at peace with that decision as well. I will be able to walk away knowing that with the help of the family that's Dakota Golf, and these are my people that are interested behind me, they're the Golf Advisory Board members, they're good customers, and I'll speak for them, don't say anything. You people don't need to hear at this point anymore. That's not the point here to relitigate the issue of the acceptance of the contract. I just need you to know where I stand individually and as a company at this point in the process. But with the help of my family, Dakota Golf, we've met every expectation, probably exceeded them if I was a little more honest. We've been an extremely valuable contractor for the city and the golfers for 23 years. At the end of our tenure, we'll be handing over to Landscapes Unlimited, a fantastic company. There's no argument about it. But we're handing them over to them, not a dilapidated, underutilized, poorly managed facilities. We're handing over to Landscapes a beautifully maintained golf course system, a reservoir of goodwill with our customers, and the knowledge that we've given the city and its golfers everything we've had for all these years. So, thank you for listening. I appreciate it. In case this is my last appearance in this capacity before the board, I appreciate all of your support, your hard work over all the years. In particular, my park department staff. I know we're not, they don't take a paycheck from the same company, but I mean, I've really appreciated the professionalism, and it's been a privilege to work with you over all these years. So, with that being said, I hope we can come to a resolution, but you needed to know if all of a sudden I wasn't involved anymore, that would be the reason why. So, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Is there any further public input? Okay, sir.
I'm a little confused. I mean, I was looking at the RFP, and in the RFP, it said that the management company or the lease company that gets the bid is responsible for supplying and maintaining all equipment used in the operation of the golf courses. Now, to me, why is the city buying? Why is the city responsible for buying this equipment?
I don't know.
Or do you want to
Tracy, you want to
Tracy?
take that one? Yeah, and under the contract, assuming it gets approved, it will become Landscape's responsibility to acquire equipment, not just today, but for their term of the 5-year agreement. So as it stands right now, the city does not have a contract with Landscapes, so they're not really in a position to be negotiating to buy anything. But it's certainly my hope that assuming that the contract does get approved by the city council, that would be one of the first orders of business is to try to come to some sort of resolution in terms of moving forward with acquiring equipment. And the city isn't in a position to force Dakota Golf to sell their equipment. And by the same token, the city's not obligated to buy the equipment from Dakota Golf. But I certainly hope there's enough common ground there that we can come to some sort of mutually agreeable, mutually beneficial term between Landscapes and Dakota Golf in the acquisition of that equipment. One way or another, the things have to move forward. So that's kind of where we are with that process, and I think the RFP is, as you quoted it, is accurate as to how we plan to move forward.
I have a question that kind of pertains to our treasurer's report there. And at the end of the 5-year contract, if you decided that this isn't a place for you, and you had purchased all that equipment, you lose it all to the city. Where do you come out in making money?
Good question, John. I guess point of clarification there would be, we're actually using the city's funds to acquire that equipment. So if we acquire Tom's equipment, the city is paying for that, and therefore would convey at the end of the term.
It didn't come out clearly before. I think everybody understood that if you bought the equipment, you just turned it over at the end of the term. And I didn't think that was a very fair contract.
No, it probably wouldn't be here, right? The claim for a share of the positive income, the incentive fee that we talked about, the trade-off of that is that the city is bearing, even though we get to keep 89% of that positive income. The trade-off of that is the city will be responsible for losses that occur out there. So Landscapes Unlimited is strictly a management company. They get paid a fee to bring their expertise to the table. We believe, we're very confident that going forward, the courses will operate in the black and will provide a return to the city because of that, and that the city won't have to continually going forward put in dollars to support the operation of that. And so if at the end of 5 years that turns out to be not the case, then I think that's an opportunity at that point to revisit the structure again. But as it is today, that's the approach going forward, that the city will make an initial, there will be dollars left from the Dakota Golf management account. Those dollars will roll into this new operating account and be available for equipment purchases. And there will be additional dollars, as the city has expected to put in, as we have for the last couple of years, additional dollars into that. So those will provide the dollars on the front end to make whatever the best business decision is from the standpoint of going forward. I expect it'll be a combination of assets that get purchased and assets that are leased. I think that's fairly typical from what I'm learning in the golf industry. That's certainly been the case in recent years. Some of the equipment has been leased and some of it has been owned by Dakota Golf. And so I don't see that changing a whole lot going forward. It probably can't cash flow doing all one or all the other.
I guess I just had one comment, is that knowing Dakota Golf like I do, all they want is what's fair, and I think the city deserves, and vice versa, Dakota Golf deserves something fair, and the city also requires something that's fair. And apparently, currently, the offer is not fair.
Any other feedback or input?
How did the city determine the value? Did they contact other golf courses, or did they talk to Landscape, or where did that offer come from? How was it determined? Or did somebody just pull a number out of the hat, or what was the deal?
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, I don't have any, the city and I mean, they've got a list of equipment, I had a value, they had a value, they have their sources of valuation, and I have mine, so I mean, it's not pull the numbers out of the hat.
Yeah, I've got a question. If the city doesn't purchase the assets of Dakota Golf,
what are they anticipating the cost to be for equipment, et cetera, in the three courses? Is there a number? You must have a number.
Along with Landscapes Unlimited, we've looked at a number of different scenarios, including purchasing the assets, the equipment from Dakota Golf, to the other end of the spectrum where none of it is purchased. And I think we're prepared and confident with the numbers that Landscapes Unlimited is providing to us, that the costs are going to shake out about the same in the long run either way. Initially, there's some significant differences, obviously, but the equipment that's needed is going to be needed regardless of who's managing the courses.
So what is that number?
I don't think it's appropriate for the city to be negotiating equipment purchases in a public meeting like this. If there's more work that needs to be done to really fairly value the equipment that Dakota Golf has and would like to sell, then I think that ought to be job one once a contract is in place, is to get to work and determine what that fair value is, recognizing that there are times when two well-meaning, very honest, good people can disagree on what something is worth, and so I think that's a possible outcome as well. But I think that's, if more work needs to be done to determine what the fair value of the equipment is, then I think that needs to be tackled. But we're not going to solve that today, clearly, or probably in the next week.
You know, the only thing that I'll say to that is that I'm not sure why it can't, and I'm not sure that it shouldn't have to be resolved. You're voting on a contract that might have, for all you know, widely differing monetary consequences. And the reason I'm here is that I now want to wait until I've been through how long some of these things take. I mean, I want an answer before I come to this meeting and you people, and you're thinking that I'm gonna be on board and in position to facilitate this transition and make things successful, but I'm unwilling to do that without resolution of this. I can't. I hope you understand that's my position, is that I'm not. We don't do the contract and then find out whether I get salvage prices for my equipment or what. I mean, we've had plenty of time. They've known about this since September. This has been Landscape's proposal. It's down to the wire, and so I mean, I think it needs to be resolved this week, and I think it needs to be resolved before the city council votes on it. That's how I feel.
You, sir?
All purchases for equipment going forward, they come out of the operating account, then going forward, they come out of a different department of the city.
The intention would be that they're all flows through the operating account.
Any further input?
Well, the whole thing just seems a little backward to me. Let's sign a contract with somebody, with a company, and then we'll find out how much it's gonna cost us. I don't understand that.
Well, I think as Tracy mentioned, the focus here today is the management contract that we need to execute. And we can't finalize any negotiations on the equipment until that contract is in place. I think the city's had a good working relationship with Tom and over the last 23 years, and I think they're hopeful that something can be worked out here in the future to, acquire some or all of the equipment at a reasonable price. Anything to add to that?
Not to bring other politics into this, but it's kind of like, let's take Nancy Pelosi, for instance. Let's pass the healthcare bill, and then we'll read it and find out what's in it.
Will this
Sir?
all be resolved by the time the city council votes on the plan? Will they have all the information to know what the city has to invest in this contract? Will they have that by then?
I don't think we know whether that's gonna happen or not. We've reached out to Tom to try to meet later this week to continue the conversation about the equipment. But regardless, Landscapes, as Tracy mentioned earlier, Landscapes Unlimited cannot acquire the equipment until they have a contract. And so even if there was an agreement, there can't be anything that can be executed until they actually have a contract. I think everybody's trying to determine that. But we just don't know at this point whether we can come to an agreement on what that equipment should be, and if it's all of the equipment, is it some of the equipment, you know, we're just not there yet.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the specifics of the equipment purchase is not part of what we're approving today. We are just solely approving the management agreement.
That's correct.
That's not, the agreement between Tom and Landscapes is not part of the
What we're approving
management
today.
agreement between the city and Landscapes management contract. Correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, but.
No, you're right. I mean, the contract says that the people we hire, Landscapes, has the responsibility to supply the equipment to the courses. And that's what you're signing, so, and they're not gonna go buy equipment or sign leases without a signed agreement, and that makes total sense to me.
I'll take a memorandum of understanding pending the approval of the contract. We can execute it.
Any further
Take
input?
a handshake. I just need to know. I mean, I'm not gonna let this get by the city council and pretend that I'm felt like I've been treated fairly after my years of service and let this go by. That's where I'm at. So I don't have to have it in, I take a handshake, I take an MOU. If that's the sticking point, is that, you know, you can't commit to, because here, I mean, I got the proposal from the city. The document to me doesn't say LU on it, so I think until right now, I think I'm negotiating with the city. And I'm not negotiating with LU, so it's, pardon my confusion in the process, but I just want you to be clear. I don't see any reason that everybody's known this is a huge issue since LU, you know, you decided to go this different route where the city's gonna reacquire equipment. Why is it 5 days before the park board meeting that I get a document from the city and then I come to the park board meeting and find out I'm really negotiating with LU, but they can't negotiate with me because they don't have a contract. So I'm happy with an agreement in principle and then an MOU, whatever legal term you want to do. I take a handshake from Tom. I hope to spend a lot of time with Tom over the years. I'm not trying to burn any bridges with anybody, but that's how I feel about it. I got some strong feelings after 23 or 30 years of service, so that's how I feel what needs to be done.
Okay, Tom, thank you. And we'll take all of your comments and information under advisement.
Thank you.
Any further input? If not, we will close the public input portion and move on to board discussion.
My opinion of the equipment purchase, knowing that the city and the park system has such a good relationship with Tom, I don't believe that the city's like lowballing him just so the city can go out and spend way more money on new equipment here. So, I mean, I just think, from my perspective, that there's probably research done on lease options. You know, Tom probably has some stuff that is not useful, that wouldn't be needed, you know, that maybe that's where the numbers are coming off, but I don't predict that there's this big gap here where, you know, Tom's got it for X and we're gonna go out and buy it for 10X. That part doesn't make sense, just knowing the relationship. So I got a feeling that there's probably somewhere, you know, in the middle that, I think it's closer than it maybe seems, and
It's not an all or nothing thing.
right, I think that there's probably pieces of the equipment that make more sense to Tom than it does to the city, but I wouldn't think that they're going forward saying, hey, we're gonna have this big, huge expense that we're not planning on. I'm guessing that, after the research, that there's probably some similar options, whether it's lease or whatever, that's gonna make sense. So I personally wouldn't be afraid of this contract without a sale price. I mean, the research has obviously been significant into this, so.
Quick question, Tom Jansa. Do all of your leases, do they all expire at the end of this year?
Yeah, knowing the end game of the contract, yes, they all did. And there's one particular one, and golf carts are leased. I mean, it's not all included, but for the most part, it's all owned outright, yes.
And you own some of the carts and lease some, is that?
I lease
right?
the electric carts at the two big courses. I own the GPS equipment that's on those carts, but the gas carts at Keuhn Park, I own the 18 gas carts at Keuhn.
Any further questions or discussion? I have one just housekeeping item on my copy of the agreement. I noticed that there was an Exhibit D and it wasn't listed in my table of contents. That's just a little thing. Sure. And I may.
It should be this green page, should you not?
Yep, no, I got that, but my table of contents just doesn't have an
Oh, just the
Exhibit
front
D.
cover.
Yeah.
Okay, we can get that fixed. That's a clerical error.
If there's no further discussion, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, and I believe the wording should be recommend approval.
Recommend approval.
Okay, second, can we have a vote?
Dahl,
Yes.
Lindquist,
Yes.
Noctigal,
Yes.
Stavanger,
Yes.
Sunday,
Yes.
Ricedofer.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank all the presenters for their presentation. I thought it was very informative. And thank you for everybody coming that was interested in this contract. I appreciate it. Moving on to the next item, the Overlook Cafe Agreement Extension. And I believe Kelby is going to kick this off. Is Rhonda? She was here. She was here. Did she have to leave?
She was here, yeah. Rhonda had to leave, take a delivery of some product, but.
Okay.
This option to extend this contract with Micromanagement LLC to operate the Overlook Cafe is, the current agreement we have expires at the end of January of 2018. And this option to extend would extend the current contract as is through February 1st, or through January 31st of 2019. Essentially, Rhonda was willing to extend for 1 year at a time. We're not going to do more than 1 year due to some historic staffing concerns that she has. So at this point, we're happy with the arrangement that we have with Rhonda and her services for us at the Overlook Cafe, and staff would recommend approval of the extension.
No changes at all to the
No
contract?
changes to the contract at all, just simply a term.
And does she know her planned hours of operation for summer and winter at this point?
She does. When she is open on summer months, she's planning on an 11 to 3, 7 days a week. Getting rid of the evening hours on Friday and Saturday. They haven't been very fruitful for her. Typically, her staffing involves a lot of her own time during those hours on the weekends. So that's, she's proposing at this point that she's going to roll back to 11 to 3, Monday through Sunday, essentially.
Okay.
Is the facility still open for special events?
The facility is still open for special events. And she will continue to book those private parties in the off hours.
And are there winter hours?
There are no winter hours. She typically closes first part of November and the end of October, and then opens up again in the spring, April, May timeframe.
Okay.
The winter months have historically not been good for walk-in traffic. They've been better for the private parties and special events that she hosts.
Sure.
She does a good job with those.
She does.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, can I have a motion?
I move approval of the extension.
Second.
Okay. And again, I believe the wording should be recommend approval. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Abdullah?
Yes.
Lindquist?
Yes.
Dr. Golf?
Yes.
Stavenger?
Yes.
Sudley?
Yes.
Rice-Broker?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to the extension of parking space usage near Dugan Park.
Yep, I've got that one as well. This extension would extend the current agreement that we have with Zillion Automotive to utilize 26 parking spaces in the south end of Dugan Park in exchange for parking space maintenance and snow removal. The current term in the agreement allows for a 10-year extension of the current agreement, which would extend this agreement to December 31st of 2027. The parking spaces are utilized by Zillion Automotive in the course of their business. It does allow for 4 parking spaces to be utilized by park users and 2 ADA spaces to be utilized by park users as well. The city's responsibility would be to maintain the signage for those parking spaces, but those parking spaces as well would be maintained by Zillion Automotive. And staff would recommend approval of this extension as well.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? If not, can I have a motion?
Recommend approval.
Second.
Okay. And this one would actually be motion to approve, wouldn't it? Okay. All right, roll call vote, please.
Abdullah?
Yes.
Lindquist?
Yes.
Dr. Golf?
Yes.
Stavenger?
Yes.
Sudley?
Yes.
Rice-Broker?
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the municipal band agreement, and I believe Sky is going to kick this off for us.
Yeah, this is an agreement extension for the next 3 years into the year 2020. The current agreement with Chris Hill does expire on December 31st of 2017. The contract value would be $34,113 per year for the duration of this agreement. The municipal bandmaster is responsible for the overall operation and function of the municipal band. This extension will keep the contract in place through the 100-year celebration that would be within this contract, which is in 2019. Staff recommends approval of amendment number 1 to the Sioux Falls Municipal Bandmaster Agreement.
Okay. Board discussion? I know one thing that came up in committee was just recommending that we have a succession plan to finish out this contract. If we don't have anything else, do I have a motion?
I recommend approval of municipal bandmaster agreement.
Second?
Okay, can we have a roll call vote on that?
Abdullah?
Yes.
Lindquist?
Yes.
Dr. Golf?
Yes.
Stavenger?
Yes.
Sudley?
Yes.
Rice-Broker?
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to the vending service agreement, and that is with Sky as well.
So this is a new 3-year agreement with Premium Food and Beverage. Lyle's here at the end if you have any questions. The board have to answer those as well. This is an agreement to provide, operate, and maintain beverage, snack, candy, and vending machines at the city facilities such as the community center, the outdoor pools, city libraries, and other designated locations. Premium Food and Beverage would pay the city 42% commission on the gross sales of all bottled products. They would also pay the city 35% commission on the gross sales of snacks and candy products. They would provide annually an $8,000 to $500 yearly sponsorship fund to the city. They would also provide a $5,000 yearly value in sponsorship participation to 7 events at no cost to the city. Something new with the vending machines is a swipe cashless unit that would be available at all of our locations. So that would include Apple Pay, Android Pay with your mobile device as well. The city does recommend approval of vending services agreement with Premium Food and Beverage.
Okay, any questions from the board or discussion? I have just a comment. I was glad to see that you are adding the swipe technology and Apple Pay to the machines. I think that'll be nice. And also like the increase of the commissions and sponsorship money. If there's no further discussion, do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right.
Della?
Yes.
Lindquist?
Yes.
Doctigal?
Yes.
Cavender?
Yes.
Stehly?
Yes.
Rice-Broker?
Yes.
Okay, the next item is the Big Sioux Disc Golf Usage Agreement. And Mike is going to give us a background on this.
Thank you. This is an extension of the current usage agreement for Big Sioux Disc Golf Club. If you remember, it was originally created a partnership to help development of 2 new 9-hole courses, one at Spencer Park and one at Tomar Park. We have sort of started on those. They've been operating on a temporary basis and have been going really well. I've had nothing but positive feedback ever since we started the temporary play. The current agreement expires here in December. This extension will continue it for 1 year and will expire in December 31st of 2018. Part of the responsibilities of the agreement, Big Sioux Disc Golf had to provide design assistance and advice on creation of a new course. They helped with clearing of the existing trees in Tomar, as well as setting the baskets in concrete. That's all been completed. And they also aid in maintenance of the course, litter pickup, vandalism repair. They promote the activity of disc golf citywide and conduct an annual site inspection with city staff to make sure everything's going well. Some of the city responsibilities were to create the new courses. We have a contract in place which will provide concrete tee boxes, signage, grading, landscaping, sort of finish up the final development of the courses. That's under contract right now, will be completed in the spring of 2018. We also provide scorecards, garbage service, and mowing as required. So the thought is to extend this contract for 1 more year until the permanent improvements are made at both Spencer and Tomar. And then upon the expiration of this contract, look into possibly a larger, more comprehensive partnership if needed going down the road with disc golf. Staff recommends approval, and Brady has toughed it out and can answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks for your partnership, Brady. Appreciate it.
Don't have any questions, but I can comment that our son, who likes to disc golf, has expressed how great it is to have the additional courses. So I know it's much needed. Thank you.
Do you have kind of a longer range plan, 1 year, to expand to different parts of the city?
We do have our eyes on a few more areas of the city. I mean, right now it's Spencer, Tomar, and Tut Hill, just like right on top of each other.
Right.
So we'd like to go. I mean, there's Elmwood Park. We've had our eye on for years for like another 9-hole, and Upper Sherman Park, things like that, just for expansion, more courses.
Do you have a membership structure?
We have a $10 membership fee, and that'll get you a Big Sioux. We call them bag tags. They're numbered, and if you basically beat somebody with a lower tag, you get the lower tag. So it kind of is a ranking, official ranking system of the players in the city. And that just pays for things like our Inland Valley insurance, where the city's name, and some of our event costs.
Do you have organized leagues?
Yeah, we have a weekly league, It rotates between the courses in town here and Big Sioux Recreation Area in Brandon.
So is this are we going into year-to-year contracts with this, or, I know we're doing 1 year
Yeah.
now, but is the plan down the road to?
See, this original usage agreement was kind of put in place for the development of those 2 new expansion courses. So we're a little bit, wanted to kind of dip a toe into it, if you will, because there's so much other activity happening in Tomar and Spencer between the Greenway and soccer and snowshoeing and everything else that happens down there, that we wanted to make sure that it was a compatible use before we went all in on it. And I think we've sort of determined that based on how feedback has gone over the past couple of years playing on a temporary basis. So the thought was to complete this out. This extension will take us through the development of those courses, and then going forward, a more comprehensive usage agreement that would look into potential expansion.
So we may see that this time next year.
Right.
That plan meeting.
Or a little further down the
Yeah.
road, once we kind of see how everything works.
Okay.
How many members do you have?
We go on a yearly basis for membership, we get about 70 a year.
And pretty active volunteer group complex too, then.
Yeah, we pull, I don't know how many garbage bags of trash, but those are, being right on the interstate there, you always bring trash blowing in, so we try to
That's a
stay
big
on
deal,
top.
so thanks for doing that.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Thanks for hanging with us.
Yes, thank you. Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call?
Della,
Yes.
Lindquist,
Yes?
Noctigal,
Yes.
Stavanger,
Yes.
Sudley,
Yes.
Christopher.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to the election of the park board officers. And I know Rita was going to send the slate of officers up there.
Thank you. Yes.
I'll just pass out the proposed slate of officers. And can we do these 2 items together, or do we need separate?
Separate agenda
Okay.
items, so perhaps
Okay, so we'll start with the officers. Lorraine Lindquist as president, Jim Stavanger as vice president, and Ann Notchville as secretary. And if there is any discussion, we can do that now. Otherwise, do we have a motion to approve?
That's up to you guys.
Yeah. We're not.
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Yes,
Second.
perfect. Okay, can we have a vote?
Della,
Yes.
Lindquist,
Yes.
Noctigal,
Yes.
Stavanger,
Yes.
Sudley,
Yes.
Christopher.
Yes.
I know they will all do an awesome job. So, okay, the next item is the approval of the standing committees. The proposed committees, the meeting days and times are on that sheet as well. And we've kept all the meeting days and times the same as last year. And we've only made a couple changes since we did some shifting last year. This year, Lorraine will chair the Park System Planning and Development Committee, and she will also be doing a second committee, Marketing and Public Needs. And then everybody else is staying on their existing committees. So, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the standing committees.
Second.
Okay, can we have a vote?
Della,
Yes.
Lindquist,
Yes.
Noctigal,
Yes.
Stavanger,
Yes.
Sudley,
Yes.
Christopher.
Yes.
And I just have to say thanks to Patty for being our chair for these last few years. You've walked us through a lot of major projects and you only missed one meeting in 2 years, and I can't promise I'll do it as well. Sorry, Jim.
Well, thank you. Next, we'll move on to the report of the director.
I'm going to spare you the director's report after an hour and 40 minutes, if that's okay. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to take those.
Okay. All right. There are no items added after the agenda deadline. No communications to the board unless anybody has some that I'm not aware of. Any open board discussion?
I just want to say kudos to all of the park board people who, or not park board, park staff. And I know it's not just the parks, it's definitely the street department, public works too. But for us to have been recertified as a bike-friendly community and receiving that bronze award, it's a team effort. And I applaud you all for that. I don't think it got the notice that it should have maybe gotten. That was somewhat downplayed because we've been bronze for a while. But that's a huge accomplishment, and so congratulations and thanks for all of that.
Thank you.
And as Lorraine mentioned, this is my last meeting as the president of the Sioux Falls Park and Rec Board. It's been an honor to serve as president the last 2 years, and I want to thank Don and the rest of the Park and Rec staff for all the guidance and wisdom you've shared with me in the 8 years since I was appointed. We have an amazing group in our park office, and we're very fortunate. You won't be getting rid of me that easy, though. I'll still be around until July of 2019 when my term ends. So, as we discussed before, I'm passing the torch to Lorraine and Jim and Ann, and I know they'll all do an excellent job. Lorraine, I appreciate all of your support and advice through these last couple of years. You've, put forth a tremendous effort, and I really appreciate that as well. So I just want to say, before we end our meeting, happy holidays to you and your families, and I look forward to a very happy 2018, and I'm hoping my Vikings win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Thanks for your service, Patty.
That.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Folks, anybody else want to entertain us?
We don't come up here to entertain you. We come up here to inform you.